Good afternoon, my name is Pala, and I have quite an interesting topic to share with you today. Now, before we get to the topic, let me start by distracting you for a first short general quiz knowledge. Here it is. Chan, how many of these brands can you name?
I can recognize McDonald's,
McDonald's,
Facebook, Windows.
You know this one? I mean, obviously it's Pepsi. Right?
Yes, that's
and then,
Pepsi.
Playable, Nike. But anyway, here's the answer. So yeah, surprisingly, you don't know much of these brands at all, huh? But anyway, I bring this game up because it pretty much relates to the topic that I'm going to share with you today. The topic is about globalization and its impact on developing countries. Now, without globalization, it would have been almost impossible for these companies to expand to other countries, let alone being as big and as successful as they are now. This is a small part of globalization, and it's called product globalization. But anyway, we're not gonna go much into that, but for this presentation, I'm gonna mainly focus on three areas for which globalization has impacted on different developing countries. Thesis statement. The aim of this research paper is to investigate the impacts of globalization on developing countries in aspects of economic growth, health and educational system, and the culture within those countries. So what is globalization? Globalization, by definition, represents the global integration of international trade, investments, information technology, and cultures. But it basically means that the countries around the world is coming together as one, and as for those countries who decided to open their market to the rest of the world, they can enjoy the benefits of free trade and economic growth. So, it's my introduction. So, constant updates of development of transportation and communication technologies have made the process of globalization much easier to take place. This is why you can communicate, travel, shop without having to spend much time and efforts as compared to the old days. With advancements, globalization is spreading at a rapid rate. So, here's a little bit of background of information of globalization. Having began with the first movement of people from Africa to other parts of the world, globalization continues to impact and have influences in developing countries. The impacts at first weren't that visible to the eye, as catalysts to globalization weren't available enough at the time. As compared to now, globalization is spreading at a quick rate due to the availabilities and ease of accessing to transport, communication, and trade. So, some of the previous effects of globalization can be seen with Romania's decision to join the European Union. Thousands of new jobs have been created in the country. New job opportunities were also created to Romanians, and trades of goods and services between Romania and European Union members are also to be much more fluid with less tax on trades and tariffs. Another shocking impact is when Coca-Cola actually has a better reach than the world's very own United Nations. So Coca-Cola, right now it can be found in more than 200 countries around the world, as compared to only 193 countries being reached by the United Nations. It's surprising to hear that the company actually does a better job in reaching out to different parts of the world than United Nations itself. So here's the first impact that globalization has influenced in developing country. It is economical impact. So globalization has impacted a developing country's economy in a number of different ways. First of all, globalization brings new job opportunities into the country. An example of this is when Apple's case, for which the company formulated up to 4.4 million jobs in China alone. And this is similar to Nike's example, is when the company has employed more than 300,000 workers in just one of its biggest shoes factories in Vietnam. Another addition to improvement in the country's economy is the increase of foreign direct investment in the country's economy. Previously in Africa, the entire continent received up to $8.2 billion US dollars worth of FDI investments in the year of 2000. these huge investments can be used to build, develop, and improve in different areas in Africa's economy. Moreover, this can also be seen with a $407.1 million US dollars worth of foreign direct investments in China. So, but anyway, despite all of these positive changes, get closer. Despite all of these positive changes and improvements, globalization also widened the gap between the rich and the poor. This is when the small percentage of the richest earns exponentially compared to a huge chunk of the population. In Africa, I mean, relating to the example earlier with 8.2 billion inflows of foreign direct investment into Africa. However, this only improves in a certain areas of Africa as compared to West Africa. The majority of the population is still living in a poor condition. This is an example from OECD countries that 10% of the richest in those countries, they earn 10 times more than the poorest combined. See, that's a lot of unfair in terms of the gap between the rich and the poor. Moving on, we have another impact is health and education. Globalization has long impacted health and educational system in developing countries. Example, this can be seen in the form of formation of international organizations to help those who are poorer. Education is the key towards having a better future, and this is because employees in the world today only hire and look for those who are educated and have a higher knowledge and understanding in the area of working. One area the globalization influence a developing country is the formation of international organization. Many international organizations are being formed to help those who are in need. One of the most significant progress of UNESCO and of World's International Organization is relating to its one of its recent progress in 2012. UNESCO has successfully reduced the number of out-of-school children in Africa from in the year 1999 to the year of 2012 up to 12 million students, or you can say children who are out of school, and 12 million of those are now being educated in the schools. And another example of improvements in health and educational system is the increase of internationalization of education. So there's a relationship established between the level of globalization in a country and its level of education. That is, the relationship indicated that the higher level of globalized nation is, it is very likely that the country will have a higher level of education for its residents. So Belgium is being known as the most globalization, and as a result of that, more than 32% of the Belgians hold at least a type A university degree. Now, apart from that, despite from all the positive changes that have been made from being the host to globalization, even though a person is educated, that doesn't mean that it doesn't prevent them from migrating the country to find a better opportunity elsewhere. For example, 88.4% of people in the United Arab Emirates are all immigrants. This can be, people from Asia or people from India. They could be anyone from another part of the world who seeks better employment, better lives in United Arab Emirates as opposed to their living conditions in their previous country. A similar case or example is when 12% of Mexicans that they migrate to the US. This is because these immigrants, they tend to think that job opportunities in America is often better than the opportunities that is being provided or is there in Mexico. Moving on to cultural impact, globalization has many benefits and harm to cultures in developing countries. There are trends that developing countries are starting to slowly mimic cultures of countries such as America, European countries. But before globalization, it is almost impossible to find out how culture of different countries, let alone learning and imitate their cultures to oneself. New tools brought in by globalization, such as radios, TVs, satellites, and internet, have made it possible to find out and share between a country's set of beliefs and norms and values to another country. One of the most significant impact of globalization in a developing country culture is related to its food. Before globalization, foods from different cultures are distinguished from one another, right? And then the biggest change is the trends toward consuming fast foods all around the world. This, I mean, obviously everybody knows this. People have started to eat more fast foods because most of the time they think fast food will save them time. It's easier. It's just so much more efficient to in a way, it's cheaper as well. So this has become one of the most popular choice among people around the world. A shocking statistic is when fast food restaurants make up to 182.25 billion in revenues in China alone. Can you believe it? That's a lot, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay, so another impact to culture is the change in language. It has become aware that English is being used as the business language and as the world's second language. Most of the time, candidates are now required to have some sort of knowledge in, or being able to speak English, or having some sort of knowledge in the English. As the world's second largest populated country, India has a staggering number of 125 million English speakers in the country. You know, this is a good example to show that Indians have become aware that it is very important to know or to communicate in English, as opportunities in the world today, it will require them to know or to communicate in English. So yeah, apart from that, oppositely, one of the main concern about globalization on a country's culture is leading to the cultural depravity. One of the biggest distraction is the increasing use of internet. As you know already, internet allows people from one part of the world to connect to another in a matter of seconds. So styles and trends are also being shared on the internet, and this could be a harm to culture because people would choose to do things differently as opposed to what they used to in terms of their norms and values. And if this continues to happen, one's ideal culture can be at risk. Chan, can you get close to this?
Yeah, sure.
So discussion and conclusion. Globalization has significantly impacted developing countries in different areas such as economy, health and educational system, culture. While the majority of these impacts are positive influences, threat to losing a country's own culture and uniqueness should be made aware. Possible solutions include passing down the ideas to one's children, or being aware of the possible loss by teaching this possible harm in educational system, or making it aware in, you know, like a TV program or something like that. So yeah, these are my references.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time. This is the end of my presentation on globalization and its impact on developing countries. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.